Good morning. Welcome to this week's Business Ethics. A couple of things. First, I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know it was a little different this year. Hopefully, you were able to spend some time with some family and have a little bit of time like that. I know it's a little different this year. It was for all of us, but hopefully, you're able to make the best of it. Secondly, I wanted to just let everybody know that the deadline for getting any and all homework into me is this coming Sunday, December 6th, by the end of the day. So you've got all the way through midnight, even into the early morning hours if you needed it. I won't check my email till that following Monday morning on the 7th. So you can get it to me anytime Sunday. Uh, till the end of the day or even early morning hours, I'll take it at that point. If for some reason you have something that's close that you won't be able to get to me by that time, reach out and let me know, and I'll try to work with you as best I can. But I would like to get everything I can in by that day, so I can have plenty of time to get it graded, because I'll need to get my grades posted and things like that. For this week, we don't have any chapter readings. We've gotten through the chapter a couple of weeks ago, but I do have a couple of videos that I would like for you to take a look at. One is called Discovery of a Character. It's a really interesting video that I think you'll enjoy watching, and kind of makes some really poignant points about life and self-discovery, and just the fact that we're all going to go through trials and tribulations and challenges in our life, and it's how we handle those and how we get through them that's important. The other video is a really interesting one I just found today, and it's on the ethics behind the COVID vaccine distribution, and there's going to be plenty of them. There's just no way they can distribute all of that at one time. It may be very difficult to get that vaccine distributed to everyone in the first year of 2021. All the way through that year. So who gets it first? I think most people agree the first responders do, but who gets it next? Is it senior citizens in nursing homes? What's the ethics behind that? They've had most of their lives already. They've lived good lives. Should they get it first or not because they're the most frail and vulnerable? Or do we give it to healthier people first? There's just a lot of ethics that go along with all of this. Do the rich countries, the Western countries, hoard all of the vaccine because they've funded a lot of it up front? There'd be a case to be made for that. But what are the ethics of that? How is that fair to everybody else? Well, is it fair? Is it not? Hey, there's a lot of money that went into those vaccines, a lot of efforts and money, and the Western countries probably bore most of that. So is it fair that they now get the vaccines first? That's the types of things that we'll have to be asking ourselves and going through that process. And I'll save you the drama and trauma. It is probably going to be anything but fair. There's going to be a lot of self-dealing. You look at what's going on right now with the testing kits. You've got nurses that have to be in these ICUs working with COVID patients. You got nurses that have to be in these hospital environments. They're constantly around potential infection and things like that. And they're lucky if they can get one of those tests maybe a month. But then you've got all of the professional athletes and the bubbles and all their sports, the NCAA athletes, they're probably getting tested a minimum of 3 times a week. Is that fair? Is that equitable? What does that say about our priorities? What does that say about our sense of fairness in our society? That's the types of things that we have to be thinking about as we go through this. This video that I have loaded up for you and on the Canvas site, it's a pretty good video, and it kind of goes around the horn with all of that. Okay. One of the things that I'm asking you to do in your discussion, you do have a discussion board post for this week. You didn't last week, but you do for this week, is to talk about how this class impacted you. how it might have changed the trajectory of your life going forward, and just how it made you hopefully think differently, or at least impacted the way you think through things. Um, One of the things that I try to do in this class, and I think I do in this class, is I have you look at some very dicey issues. Again, this how we're going to distribute this vaccine is a great example of that. You can't find anything trickier than that. And hopefully you figured out that these tough issues are that. They're tough, they're complex, they're multidimensional, um, and it's everybody's going to look at these things differently. And I hope you've also figured out that how we were raised, what our past experiences were in life, impacts how we look at all these things. Now, the problem and the big thing that I just hate about our environment right now is that we've got the media, we got the political parties, we've got special interest groups, we got moneyed interests, and everybody is trying to convince us that if somebody doesn't think like us, they're the enemy and they're evil and they're bad. And that is not the case, or not necessarily the case in any stretch, right? Um, if you've got somebody that was raised in a lower or a lower middle class household, and both of their parents worked union jobs and unionized workforces, and they struggled to make ends meet, they are going to look at the world much differently than somebody on the other end of the spectrum who went only to very well funded private schools. They led a upper class or upper middle class lifestyle. They never had food insecurity. They never wanted for anything. They probably grew up going to the pool and the tennis courts when they were younger at country clubs. And those two different individuals and settings that I just described, people are going to look at issues, they're going to look at events, they're going to look at things much differently. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean one is good or bad, that's just a fact. And in most cases, you're not going to close that gap. Very rarely do you close that gap. Most people are going to keep kind of hanging out on the end of the spectrum where they grew up and where their life experiences were from. Again, doesn't make people bad. That's just the way it kind of is. Now, the desirable thing is if we can come kind of back and meet in the middle. And that's what I've tried to do my whole life, is camp out in the middle somewhere, try to be a moderate, try to look at things from both perspectives. What we've got to get away from is this small-mindedness. We got to be able to look at things on multiple levels. We got to be able to research effectively. We've got to be able to be empathetic to other people's perspectives. And that's the stuff many times that seems to be in short supply right now. The thing that I just want everybody to be aware of, and I want you to think about as you're looking at how you're going to move forward after this class and throughout your lives, is how do we extract ourselves out of this mindless destruction that's going on right now? And it is destruction. It's tearing at the very fabric, not only of society and cultures. I'm seeing entire families ripped apart by this, and it's sad, and it's not worth it. Yeah, there are things worth fighting for. There are things worth digging in for. I'm not saying there aren't, but think about how we do it, and think about what the stakes are, and think about what we're willing to give up for our ideologies. And also try to understand and think about the fact that you've got all of these interests, all of these special interests, from political parties, media, to the moneyed elite, that are really trying to play us all like puppets right now. Again, I'm not saying they're completely evil, but that's what they're doing. That's what's in their interest right now. They're making huge sums of money off of it, and they are playing the game. and we are their little puppets. I'll guarantee you that election that's about to happen for those 2 runoff seats in Georgia, you're going to see a flood of money and influence coming inside that state from out of state, from every direction imaginable. And every voter in that state is going to be a puppet for those interests. They're going to be trying to lie, cheat, steal, anything they can do to try to influence those elections. And they're going to try to use the citizens of that state as their little puppets to do it. So, in conclusion, if there's one thing I've really tried to do in this class, it's to get you to be able to think for yourself. Not listen to what Larry Straub wants you to do, not think how I want you to think. Think about what it means to be you, what it means to be you as an individual, what's important to you, what's worth the battle and what's not, to be able to make educated decisions about that. But most importantly, to be able to think for yourself, understand how to be able to research, how to look at all sides of the issues, which is more important than it's ever been, but ultimately at the end of the day, make your own decision on how you feel about things. Now, is that easier said than done? Absolutely. No doubt about it. All right. But it is possible. And I hope through this class, we've taken and made at least a down payment on how you can do that for yourselves and how you can maybe even impact and influence others. All of these tapes, all of these things, these discussions, you could use those in a family setting. Some nights you're sitting around after dinner and you're a little bored, just pose the question, hey, what would you think about this? And just go through an exercise and have everybody kind of cuss and discuss. Although in some families anymore, that's dangerous. I understand that. But all the videos that I've showed you, I think can be very impactful. So keep those on your radar screen and don't hesitate to share those with others. Okay. All right. Well, this will probably be my last video that I'll do for you all in this class. The next week will just be wrapping up, getting any of your assignments into me that maybe you were a little late on. Hopefully, again, we get all of them to me as much as possible by Sunday. And I'll be available if anybody has any questions or needs any assistance that last week. But this will probably be my last video post that I do. I've enjoyed having all of you in class. I've been very proud of Newman University this semester. Those of you that were on campus, we made it all the way through Thanksgiving as planned, finishing out this last couple of weeks online, but hey, we made it. We did what a lot of schools didn't even try to think about doing, which was getting on campus and getting through a semester. So I encourage everybody to keep it between the ditches, manage your risks, stay as safe as possible, but at the same time, there's a life out there, and try to live it to the best of your ability. And we've got the light at the end of the tunnel. We got these vaccines coming, so stay safe in the meantime, and hopefully I get to see as many of you as possible on campus again next semester. So thank you, and really enjoyed the class, and I'll look forward to reading your discussion board posts. Thank you all.